The millionaire paraplegic laughs, but faces a shocking twist after poor girl's bold plea. Nathan Cole sat alone in his sprawling penthouse, the city lights sparkling below like a sea of fireflies in the chill of the autumn night. From his wheelchair, he watched the world buzz, wrapped in shadows and secrets he'd almost begun to enjoy. Until tonight. The hum of distant traffic was a soft but constant reminder of life moving without him. His sharp eyes, framed by a smirk and a bitter laugh, scanned the room. The massive floor-to-ceiling windows spread the skyline wide, almost swallowing his anger whole. A display of wealth and power. Yet Nathan's hands trembled just a bit. A secret crack in his armor. A knock shattered the quiet, sharp as a gunshot in the silence. Through the door strode Emily, young, scrappy, and dripping with the kind of desperation you can't fake. Her worn jacket held the faint scent of rain. Her eyes, wild and I need your help. Nathan's laugh burst out, harsh, ironic, echoing off the polished marble and steel. Help? From me? His voice was a cracked whip, full of venom and mockery. Funny. You don't look like you belong in the same airspace as me. Emily's jaw tightened. Maybe, but I know things you don't want to hear. The tension in the room shifted. The glow from the city seemed to flicker, the cold settling in deeper. Nathan studied her closer, noting the dirt under her nails, the raw desperation flickering like a candle struggling against the wind. He thought he saw something else, fear, maybe dread, pushed just beneath her boldness. And what exactly could you possibly know? Nathan asked, voice slow and dangerous now. I own the sky, the streets, the money that buys every second I don't have to beg. What could a girl like you possibly want from me? A silence fell. Then, quick as a blade, Emily pulled the envelope from her coat and slammed it onto the glass table. Everything, she said. Your fortune, your empire, and your damn fate. It's not yours, not really. Nathan's bitter laugh died in his throat. His eyes narrowed, fixed on the impossible truth curling inside that thin paper. His mind raced, hands clenched, chest tightening, breath hitching. Had he been fooled? Had the walls of his carefully built fortress already crumbled behind his back? Outside, the city seemed to hold its breath. The distant screech of a siren, the soft thud of footsteps moving away. And inside, the smile he wore cracked in two. Emily waited. Nathan's next move could change everything, or ruin him. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Nathan's smile shattered, fragments scattering like glass across the cold marble floor. Emily's eyes didn't waver. She waited, breath sharp in the silence between them. Then, bang, the sound. Nathan yelped, reflex crashing into instinct, hands flailing to shield his face. Emily stumbled back, heart pounding, eyes wide as the city lights blurred behind the storm banging against the building. From the chaos emerged a figure, dark coat soaked, hair plastered, face barely visible. 2 quick steps, and he was inside, steady and cold. Nathan's breath caught. Recognition slammed into him harder than the glass. Ethan, his older brother. The one Nathan hadn't seen since the crash that broke more than just his spine. Emily froze. Nathan didn't move. His jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Ethan's eyes burned, not with hate, but with something worse. Wild desperation, tangled with a dangerous secret. "You're alive," Ethan's voice cracked, rough and broken. "I thought you were dead." Nathan's breath hitched. How? Ethan didn't answer. He dropped a thick envelope onto the floor. "It's worse than you think. The accident, you weren't alone. What you don't know is killing you, Nate. They covered it up. Mom's gone. Dad's memory twisted. You're a pawn in something filthy. The bedrock of it all is inside that envelope." Nathan's trembling hands reached out. He glanced at Emily, her expression shifting into something unreadable. Fear. Hope. Betrayal. He opened the envelope with shaking fingers. Inside, pictures lay like accusations. Nathan, in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines. But next to him, someone else. Someone sprawled on the floor, blood pooling dark and thick. His heart slammed. "Who is that?" Ethan swallowed hard. It's not a who, it's a what. A secret they buried. You weren't paralyzed in an accident. You were shot. And there's proof they planned it. Nathan's breath stopped for a beat that felt like a lifetime. The room spun. Rain still hammering against the broken glass. The distant siren growing closer. Emily broke the silence. Voice small, but cutting through the chaos. "You've been lied to your whole life. This changes everything. Or it should." Nathan's wheelchair shifted, unsteady under him, a sudden weakness he couldn't shake. Rage, horror, confusion, all tangled tight in his chest. The brother he thought lost was here, live wires of truth sparking between them. The girl he barely trusted held half the story. And the empire behind those walls, built on a lie so rotten, it poisoned the air he breathed. Outside, eyes from neighboring apartments turned to watch the shattered glass, the flashing lights, whispers rising like smoke. Who did Nathan really owe his life to? And who was the real enemy? No one could say for sure anymore. And now, everything was about to blow wide open. Nathan's breath froze. The shattered glass littered the floor like broken promises, and rain pounded against the wrecked window like a drum of impending doom. Ethan's words hung heavy in the air. Lies, cover-ups, a hidden truth that ripped at every thread of Nathan's life. A figure appeared in the doorway, bruised, pale, clutching a bloodied hand to his side. "Nate!" The voice cracked like a whip. It was Marcus, Nathan's longtime personal assistant, the steady man who'd kept the empire running behind the scenes for years. His face was streaked with dirt and sweat, eyes wild with panic. "They're coming! It's all unraveling faster than we thought!" Nathan's heart hammered, confusion splitting across his face. "Who? What? Marcus, what's happening?" Marcus swallowed hard, trembling. "The people behind your fall, the ones you trust, they're here, right now." The room tensed as heavy boots thudded on the marble steps outside the door. Then the lock clicked. Before anyone could react, the door burst open. 3 men strode in, steel-eyed, suited, their presence sharp as knives. One raised a badge. It was the police. "Mr. Cole, you're under arrest." Nathan's eyes shot to Ethan. A flicker of understanding passed. Ethan stiffened but didn't move. "Arrest? On what charge?" Nathan's voice cracked like dry wood. The lead detective pulled out a folder, flipping it open. Conspiracy, fraud, and most shockingly, murder. Silence slammed through the room like a slam of a gavel. Emily's breath caught. Ethan's jaw clenched. Nathan's hands shook violently on the wheels. "They have evidence that not only were you involved in covering up your own crime scene," the detective said, voice cold and sharp, "but that you ordered a hit on your brother, Ethan." Nathan's head whipped toward Ethan, eyes wide, disbelief spilling over them like a flood. "No, that's not possible." His voice trembled, tears welling like a storm breaking free. Ethan's face contorted with something Nathan hadn't seen before. Pain and shame, but faintly, a guilty weight. Then Emily stepped forward, voice quiet but fierce. "There's more. The accident, the shooting, it wasn't just a hit. It was all staged. And Nathan signed off on the cover-up. He wasn't just a victim. He was part of it." Nathan's world cracked open, every truth splintering away. "Wait, Emily, what are you saying?" Nathan's voice cracked in half, shaking with a mix of rage and betrayal. "You were never shot by strangers, not by accident. You did it," she accused, eyes burning with unspoken rage. "You and the family. The empire was never yours. You took it by crushing Ethan, by breaking him, by burying the truth." "No," Nathan whispered, terror blooming, cold and sharp. The detective tossed the pictures from the envelope on the floor. Hospital shots, yes, but one new image slipped out. A hidden camera still showing Nathan, waking up in a sterile room, alone, and signing papers with a blank face. "Look closely," the detective said. "You agreed to your own imprisonment, willingly." Nathan's wide eyes locked onto the photo. His own hand, still trembling, but steady enough to sign his name beneath words he didn't understand. Then the final blow landed. She glanced down, eyes widening. It's video. She flipped the screen toward them. The footage started shaky. A familiar voice whispered, Nathan's, but too cold, too practiced. Everything's set. Ethan won't speak. He's out. The brother Nathan wanted dead is just a ghost. And then the camera swung, revealing the truth behind everything. Behind the brutal silence, the hidden lies. Nathan himself, standing fully able-bodied, walking without limp or aid, smiling straight at the camera, laughing. The man in the wheelchair, the millionaire paraplegic, a lie, a cage. A cover-up more twisted than anyone imagined. The room spun, words choking in Nathan's throat. Ethan's face flickered between hurt and fury. Emily's jaw dropped. Police cuffs clicked open. The detective's eyes never wavered. "How deep does the deception go, Nathan?" he asked, voice low. Nathan stared at the shards of his empire, his family, his own shattered body. Had he really been a victim, or the puppet master all along? The night outside pulled tighter, darkness pressing in like a noose. And Nathan suddenly couldn't tell the difference between truth and betrayal. The final secret hovered just beyond reach, but only for a moment, because someone still held the key, and it wasn't who anyone expected. The question hung thick in the air. Who was Nathan Cole, really? Nathan's eyes didn't leave the shattered photos on the floor, his mind scrambling to catch up. The weight of the betrayal pressed down like a storm cloud, ready to burst. Emily's phone buzzed again, her fingers trembling as she flipped the screen. The flickering video played on the cold glass table under harsh fluorescent light. Then, everything stopped. A new sound sliced through the chaos. A slow, heavy thud against the broken window frame. Heads snapped toward the noise. Slowly, from the darkened corner of the room, a figure stepped forward. Not Ethan, not Marcus, not even a cop. A woman, pale, thin, wrapped in dark clothes, soaked from the rain. Her eyes, sharp and familiar, cut through the trap of lies and silence. "Surprised to see me?" Her voice cracked but grew steady, cold like ice water sliding down a spine. Nathan's breath hitched. "Olivia?" Emily whispered, her shaky voice full of disbelief. Nathan's face went white. The woman smiled, not kind, but full of cruel knowledge. "I figured you'd enjoy the show," Olivia said, her gaze hard. "But you, the great Nathan Cole, you forgot one thing. You forgot me." Emily looked ready to leap out of her skin. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. The cops shifted uneasily. Nathan's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Olivia took a step closer, rainwater dripping from the ends of her tangled hair. "I'm the real story," she said. "You were never paralyzed. You never even suffered the accident the way you told everyone." The room seemed to blink. "What?" Marcus's voice barely carried. Olivia smiled again, this one colder, sharper. I'm the one who got shot that night. The one who disappeared. The one they buried in silence. Her eyes locked on Nathan's, burning with something fierce. I was the victim. You took everything. My body, my future, my name. Nathan's wheelchair shuddered, as if electric shock ran through the metal frame. Sweat burst from his forehead. His voice was low, scared. That's impossible. Olivia shook her head slowly. No one saw me leave, because I didn't leave. I survived. You hid me. You used me. While you played the broken prince, I was locked away, alive but forgotten. Emily gasped suddenly, a sharp intake of breath. The cops exchanged looks, confusion warping into alarm. Olivia stepped forward, voice dropping to an eerie whisper. Look again. The reason I'm here is not just to expose you. It's because... She paused, eyes burning with hatred. You couldn't kill me, so you locked me away in the very place you told them I died. The room cracked open. Then, without warning, the lights snapped off. Darkness swallowed the penthouse. A scream ripped through the black, like a rocket set off too close. Emily yelped, clutching at the table. Ethan's chair skidded backward. Nathan's hands trembled uncontrollably. The power came back with a jolt, and Olivia was gone. A cold wind blew through the broken window. Only the police remained rooted. Faces pale, uncertainty swirling like smoke. Then the detective stepped forward, voice low but shaking. This changes everything, he said. Nathan's chest tightened, fear locking his throat into cold stone. Emily looked at the empty doorway, eyes wide, raging and lost. Ethan leaned in, voice rough. She's the key. Nathan sat frozen, trapped by a truth deeper and darker than any lie. The brother, the sister, the lies, the cover-up, all tangled into a nightmare that just got much worse. And now, with Olivia out there, the real war had only just begun. Who was Nathan Cole, really? And who was still watching from the shadows? The silence stretched, thick and heavy, after Olivia vanished into the dark corner of the ruined penthouse. Rain hammered the broken glass like a warning drum, and the cops glanced at one another, uncertain, uneasy. Nathan sat frozen, the cold sinking into his skin, despite the weight of betrayal crushing him from inside. Emily bit her lip, eyes flickering to the empty doorway where Olivia had stood moments before. Ethan's fists clenched tight on the wheels of his chair, muscles rigid with something fierce and raw. Then, without warning, the sharp ringing of a phone shattered the tension. It ripped through the silence. The screen gleamed bright in the dark room. A name flashed. Nathan Cole. Nathan's head snapped toward her, disbelief cracking his voice. That's mine. But Emily answered. Hello? Her voice was steady, but strained. A cold, familiar voice whispered back, low and laced with menace. Nathan, you don't know me, but I know you. Emily's eyes darted to Nathan, then Ethan, then Marcus, then back to the phone. "Who is this?" Emily asked, holding the phone steady despite shaking hands. The voice laughed, cruel and hollow. Then it spoke again. "You think you're trapped? Think you're the puppet? No, you're the prize." A pause, then a breath, wet and ragged. "Look outside. The real show is beginning." Emily's gaze moved toward the shattered window. Out in the night, beyond the shattered glass, city sirens were rising, a chorus of urgency slicing through the rain. Then headlights exploded under the penthouse, but it wasn't police cars. It was more than that. Through the glass, figures poured into the building's lobby, masked, armed, moving fast, silent as shadows. Suddenly, the front door, far below, shuddered as a battering ram struck. The detective raised his gun, backing toward the group. "Everyone, hold your ground!" Nathan's breath hitched. His hands trembled harder, gripping the arms of the wheelchair, as if it could keep the world from falling apart. "Who the hell are they?" Marcus hissed, eyes wide with panic. Emily's phone buzzed again, the caller, and the words came clear now. "They're here for Olivia, and for everything she holds." A shot cracked, loud and sharp, echoing up the halls toward the penthouse. The detective dove forward, pulling them into cover, as heavy boots stormed the stairs. Nathan's heart thundered, mind racing, breath stuttering. But then, from the shadows, a sound so jarring it stopped them all. A child's cry, that cold, chilling wail, a soft whimper that clawed at the ribs. Emily's face went pale. "Wait, that's a kid!" Ethan's mouth dropped open as the crying grew louder, coming from inside the walls. Nathan's head whipped toward a barely visible vent near the floor, one Ethan hadn't noticed before. "Someone's hiding a child," Nathan whispered, voice cracking. "They've been holding her here all this time." Emily slid toward the vent, hands trembling as she pressed her ear against steel. The sobs pierced the cold air. Suddenly, a frantic voice whispered back, "Help me, please." They all froze. Then, the room's lights flickered wildly. The heavy front door burst open, just as another shadow stepped through the broken glass. More footsteps, more faces, but one silhouette moved slower. The detective's gun froze in midair as he lowered it. Because the figure wasn't a threat. It was a small girl, no older than 8, her clothes torn, her eyes wide and wild. But the shock wasn't her. It was the necklace she wore, a delicate chain glinting with a familiar charm. The family crest. Nathan's breath caught. The girl's lip trembled as she looked straight at him. "Uncle Nate?" The room went completely quiet. The empire, the lies, the secrets, they all shattered again, as if a new earthquake tore through the ground beneath them. Emily's voice was barely above a whisper. "Who is she?" Nathan's hands shook, eyes wide with a terror that clawed deep into his soul. Because he realized this little girl wasn't just a secret. She was a living, breathing reminder that everything he thought he knew was a lie. And maybe, just maybe, she was the one nobody wanted found. The true heir. But to what? A kingdom of shadows? Or a curse that was only just waking? The rain hammered harder, and outside, somewhere, Olivia's voice, soft and waiting. The question lingered in the thick, wet air. Who was this girl? And what nightmare did she carry inside her small hands? Nathan's world had just flipped on its head, and no one was ready for what came next. The girl's voice trembled in the thick air, pulling at Nathan like an anchor he wasn't ready to reel in. His hands shook uncontrollably, fingers curling white-knuckled around the arms of his wheelchair. "Uncle Nate," she whispered again, eyes wide, too wide. The family crest on her necklace glittered beneath the harsh overhead light, sharp and real. Silence crushed the room. Emily's breath hitched. Ethan's fists clenched so tight, his knuckles blanched. Marcus's face went pale, sweat beating at his temple. Nathan's heart thundered in slow, heavy beats. The sudden weight of those two words sobered him faster than any truth before. "Who?" he rasped, voice cracking. "Who are you?" The girl blinked back tears, voice soft and broken. "I'm Lily." A name so fragile, it slipped into the room like a ghost. Suddenly, the detective stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "Where have you been? Who kept you hidden?" Before Lily could answer, the air shifted sharply. A low hiss buzzed in the room, phones vibrating furiously in pockets. Emily's face paled as she pulled out her phone again. "This just came through," she said, voice barely steady. "Security cam footage from the underground parking garage." Everyone's eyes swiveled toward the discarded tablet on the table. Emily tapped the play button. The video crackled to life. A shadowy figure hurried through the dim tunnels, dragging someone heavy. The camera caught a flash of blonde hair and a small frame. Then the shot froze, and the camera whirred, zooming out, revealing not Lily, but a man. Nathan's breath stopped. The figure slumped in the arms of the shadow. It was Ethan. But Ethan wasn't hurting. He was unsteady and wide-eyed, holding something. His trembling hands revealed a small bundle wrapped tightly, and that bundle, it shifted. A soft, gurgling cry cut the thick air. The room gasped. Marcus whispered, voice breaking, Is that a baby?" Nathan's eyes burned, searching every frame. Then he saw it. The camera moved closer. It caught Ethan's lips, whispering clearly, "Her daughter. They told me she was gone, but she's alive." The echo hung like a shot. Emily's face crumpled. Ethan's chair rocked with disbelief. The detective's voice cracked. "Wait, what daughter?" Nathan's heart twisted into a frozen knot. Suddenly, Lily looked at Nathan, eyes burning with a fierce light. "You don't know everything, do you?" she said, voice sharp but trembling. "Because you forgot, you're not her uncle." Nathan's jaw dropped, body trembling like a leaf in a storm. "Lily, you're not my niece?" Her lips quivered into a bitter smile. "No, You're not my uncle. I'm not part of your lie. Whispers burst from the police and onlookers, thick with confusion. Emily gasped. Ethan's face twisted into shock, then something darker. Realization. Ethan breathed. Before anyone could reply, Lily pulled back her sleeve. The skin underneath was marked, thin, jagged scars curling up her wrist. A tattoo. The same tattoo Nathan had worn. Secret. Hidden. A symbol of something darker. But the scar wasn't hers. It was mine, Nathan breathed, voice trembling. The room reel spun as Lily's eyes locked with his, fierce and unforgiving. I'm you, Nathan. A cold silence yanked tight. Nathan's mind shattered. What? I'm your twin. Lily's voice cracked. The child they hid away. The result of their twisted plan. While you played helpless, I lived in the shadows, forgotten and traded. The walls closed in. Emily's fingers trembled on her phone. Ethan's face drained of color. Marcus stepped back. Words caught in his throat. Nathan's breath hitched. I don't understand. No, Lily whispered, tears spilling hot. Because you never wanted to understand. You took everything. My life, my place, and now I'm here. The detective's voice barely rose above a whisper. You lied. Everything. Nathan's chair rocked as rage and despair battled. His smile shattered. His empire crumbled inside out. The city outside pressed harder, rain pounding like drums of doom. Then Lily took a step forward, small but fierce. You think you're the victim? You're the monster. Nathan's hands dropped limp. The room spun, heart slamming cold, and just like that, the father of his empire, the man Nathan had thought dead, appeared in the shattered doorway. Bloodied, shaking, voice cracking. You don't know what you are, Nathan. The empire wasn't his. The family was a lie. And the real game was only just beginning. The question hung, sharp and deadly. Who was Nathan Cole? And what had he cost to survive? The battered man in the doorway trembled, blood streaming down his cheek, eyes wild and searching. You don't know what you are, Nathan. His voice cracked like dry wood under pressure. The room held its breath. Rain hammered against the shattered glass as the city seemed to close in tighter, the weight of lies crushing everyone. Nathan swallowed, chest tight, hands gripping the wheelchair arms so hard his knuckles shone white. What do you mean? He rasped, voice barely there. Before the man could answer, the air shifted, heavy, sudden. A burst of static crackled over the detective's radio. The room snapped to attention. Back up, the detective muttered, eyes darting, and something else coming. Then a low rumble under their feet. The lights flickered. A deep, mechanical whirring filled the air. Everyone froze. Suddenly, walls along the hallway shifted. A hidden panel slid open. From the darkness beyond, a figure stepped forward. Not Olivia, not Ethan, not Marcus. A man in a sharp suit, face hidden beneath a surgical mask, stained with dry blood. He raised a hand, slow, deliberate. "Enough," he said, voice cold, calm, like a blade cutting glass. Nathan's heart raced. Confusion surged. Emily took a step back, but kept her eyes locked on the stranger. "Who the hell are you?" Ethan demanded, voice shaking with equal parts fear and rage. The man pulled the mask down, revealing a face nobody expected. Nathan's breath caught. The blood drained from his lips. "Dad?" The man's jaw was tight, eyes hard. "Nathan Cole," he spoke, voice sharp as ice. "You've played your part beautifully." A silence fell, thick, suffocating. Nathan's world started to tilt. "Wait, no!" he choked out. You died!" The man's eyes flickered, a cold smile cracking the surface. "Died? No. I disappeared. I was shoved under the ice, buried in secrets, but I never left." The detective shifted, unease bleeding through his measured gaze. "But truth is worse than you know." Nathan's chest tightened into a vice. He tried to pull himself together, but his hands shook violently. "Why now, after all this?" he whispered. "Because," his father said, stepping forward, voice low, "you were never meant to inherit this empire. Not fully." He looked at Lily, then Ethan, then back at Nathan. "You were just pawns, all of you." The room spun. "Pawns?" Lily's voice cracked like glass. "What's that supposed to mean?" The man's gaze settled coldly on her. "You're not just my granddaughter," he said slowly. "You're the only true heir." The others gasped. Nathan's shoulders slumped, his breath shallow and uneven. His father's next words sliced through the silence like a knife. "I didn't just fake my death to disappear. I faked your paralysis." Nathan jerked as if struck. His father continued, voice steady and merciless. "The accident, the shooting, all staged to hide the truth. You never lost your legs. You were puppets in my final game." Nathan's hands fumbled at the chair's wheels, face drained of color. Emily's lip quivered. Ethan's chair rocked slightly. "And you?" Lily whispered, barely able to breathe. The man looked her dead in the eye. "I erased you too, buried you in the shadows." A chill slammed into the room. "Why?" Nathan begged, voice breaking. His father's eyes glimmered with a cruelty that chilled the bone. "To control the legacy, to control the empire, to break you and remake this family in my image." Suddenly, the man reached into his coat. Everyone tensed, ready for another weapon. He pulled out a small device, flicking a switch. A faint beep whispered, and then the screens around the room, the security monitors, the tablet, lit up with footage. It wasn't just video anymore. It was layers, files, documents, conversations, everything. His empire laid bare. Nathan's breath caught. Emily gasped. The detective's finger twitched on his gun. Then a new face appeared on the monitors. Not Olivia, not Ethan, not Marcus. A woman. Calm, composed, eyes burning like fire. Nathan's hands went cold. "Mom?" he whispered, disbelief cracking through him. The screen flickered, and her voice came clearly. "Nathan, my son, you were never meant to be the villain. You were the sacrifice." The room exploded into chaos. Whispers flooded in. Sacrifice. Puppet. Lies. Nathan sat frozen. The empire. The lies. The betrayal. It all shattered in an instant. His father's mask of control cracked. His mother's face on the screen promised more horror beneath. The question ripped through the noise. What had Nathan Cole really been living in? And what nightmare played behind even that curtain? Because now, the game wasn't just family. It was war, and the rules? They'd just been rewritten. The only thing certain, no one was who they seemed anymore. The room spun with the heavy weight of his father's words. Nathan's breath stuck in his throat, his hands trembling like dry leaves in a cold wind. Every secret spilled, every mask torn, left them raw and bleeding in the harsh light of truth. His mother on screen, their real queen of shadows, had just called him a sacrifice. The empire twisting beneath their feet like a dying beast. A deafening quiet swallowed the penthouse until a sudden crack, a loud snap broke through the tension, sharp and cutting. Everyone turned. The detective's gun lowered with a jerk. His eyes locked on Nathan. "Nathan, your phone, it's ringing." Emily's fingers fumbled, pulling the sleek device free. The screen flashed, bright, bright. Incoming video call, unknown. "Who?" Nathan whispered, voice ragged. "Who would call now?" Emily hesitated, then hit accept. The screen buzzed, then flickered to life. The figure was blurred, a shadow cloaked in darkness. But then the voice came, smooth, cold, familiar in a way that made Nathan's blood run ice. "Nathan, you don't know me yet, but I'm inside everything, inside all this chaos." The figure stepped closer. A face emerged. Nathan's chest hitched. His heart pounded like it wanted to escape. It wasn't Olivia. It wasn't his father. It was himself. But not the broken, caged Nathan curled in that wheelchair. This was Nathan Cole from years ago. Whole, alive, grinning with the same fire he'd long buried. "I've been watching," the younger Nathan said, voice low and sharp like a threat. "Watching the lies, the games, the poison you call family." A flicker of panic flashed across the room. "What the hell?" Marcus whispered, stepping closer to Emily. The detective's finger moved to the phone, then stopped. "You're me?" Nathan gasped, staring at the screen as if it might shatter. The younger Nathan nodded. "Not quite. Not like you think." The video shifted, and suddenly, images flooded the screen. Moments Nathan didn't remember. Conversations he never had. Plans he never made. A different life playing out in quick flashes. And then, a twist that shattered reality. The man on screen pulled back a mask. Beneath it was Emily. Her eyes cold, hard, unrecognizable. "Emily?" Nathan stammered, stomach twisting. She smiled, slow and cruel. Yes, Nathan, and I've been the one pulling the strings all along. Gasps echoed around the room. Ethan's mouth fell open. The father's icy stare cracked with shock. The mother's hologram flickered. Emily's voice sharpened, slicing through the room. You thought I was your desperate girl, the pawn, the weak link. She leaned closer to the camera. But I'm the architect, the puppeteer, the one who staged the fall, the one who bought and sold your loyalties and lies. Nathan's wheelchair rocked. Breath caught in his chest like a blockade. You lied to me, he whispered. Emily's smile stretched. I had to survive, to win. The empire wasn't ever yours to keep. It belonged to the shadows, and I am the shadow no one saw. The screen blinked off. The room plunged back into a heavy, suffocating silence. Nathan's head dropped forward, chest tightening, as if squeezed by invisible hands. Then, a soft sound, barely a whisper, but sharp as a knife. I'm sorry, Nathan. The detective looked up, eyes scanning the fractured circle of broken trusts and bitter revelations. From the broken window, a lone raindrop slid down the glass, tracing a thin, cold line. Nathan slowly raised his eyes. Why? He asked hoarsely. No answer came, only the chilling truth pressing down with crushing weight. The line between victim and villain didn't just blur. It vanished. And the real game? It was far darker, far deeper, because the enemy was not outside. It had always been inside. The question echoed hollow. What if Nathan Cole was never really Nathan? Who was the real mastermind dragging them all into the dark? And when the masks fall for good, who would still be left standing? Nathan's voice trembled in the thick silence. Why? But the room held its breath. No answer came. Only the cold weight crushing the air between them. Then, a sudden chill swept the penthouse. The humming of the city outside dimmed, swallowed by a strange electric quiet. Emily's phone buzzed again. She froze, staring at the screen. The display blinked wildly. Then, in a flash, the lights exploded. Not blackout, not flicker. Explode. A sharp, searing pain hit Nathan's chest, like a punch from inside his ribcage. He gasped, eyes widening. The wheelchair lurched. Emily screamed. The detective shouted orders that couldn't reach the ears caught in shock. The air stank, metallic and thick. Behind the shattered window, a flare of burning orange spilled into the room. Glass fell like crystal tears. A figure appeared on the ledge outside, silhouetted against the flames licking the sky. Nathan's heart sank. It wasn't a stranger. It was the father, blood-soaked and wild-eyed. He screamed, voice breaking the storm. You want to know who Nathan Cole really is? His eyes locked on Nathan's, with madness and desperation. I'm the truth, the curse, the shadow behind the throne. He lurched forward, but then the floor beneath him cracked. A sickening, grinding snap. His body plummeted through the glass like a shooting star falling into a black void. Silence slammed. Emily covered her mouth. Ethan's chair tipped dangerously. Marcus swore under his breath. Nathan's chest heaved. The ache in his ribs now burned sharp. Dad, no. But the man was gone. Just a ragged hole where he'd stood seconds before. Sirens wailed below, frantic and furious. The detective cursed, grabbing his radio. Outside, neighbors poured into the street, faces pale, eyes wide. A single scream tore through the night, a woman's, high and piercing. Then, Emily's phone buzzed again. This time, the screen flashed a new message. You don't know what just fell. Nathan's hands trembled. What? He gasped. The tablet flickered on the table. Images popped up, one after another. Grainy, unfiltered. Footage from the penthouse security. But this wasn't from inside. It was from below. The underground garage. The place they'd never thought to search. A hidden door sliding open. Someone dragging. No, not dragging. Carrying. A body. Wrapped tight. The camera caught a glimpse, an identity blurred. But the way the person moved, cold, calculated. Emily stared. Her voice cracked. That's not just any body. Nathan's teeth clenched. He recognized the coat, the angle of the hands, the limp breathing underneath the wraps. It's me, he whispered. But, Ethan croaked, voice breaking too. How? I just saw you here. The detective's eyes narrowed, mind racing. Then, a new sound. A low, metallic click. A phone's camera switching on. From the shadows, an all-too-familiar voice whispered, "Welcome back, Nathan." The screen flashed, and suddenly, Nathan saw himself. Not the broken man in the wheelchair, not the stranger in all the photos, but a stranger he'd never met. Another Nathan. One who smiled with cold intent. One who was watching them all. One who whispered, "You're still mine, and this game has just begun." The room shattered in shock. The line between what was real and what was a lie snapped clean in two. And Nathan suddenly understood. The nightmare wasn't over. It was only getting darker. Because the man in that footage wasn't a shadow. He was him. The real Nathan Cole. And the one in the wheelchair was a ghost. A mask. A trap. The real story. Still hidden in the depths. The question hung. Heavy and clear. Who was the man sitting in that chair? And what kind of monster had he become? Nathan's breath came quick and shallow, chest tightening, like a fist squeezed around his heart. The room felt like it was closing in. Walls breathing, shadows twisting. The real Nathan Cole stared back at him from the screen, alive and whole, grinning with a menace that cut sharper than any knife. And here he sat, trapped in this chair, a ghost tangled in his own web of lies. Then silence. The device abruptly died. The screen went black. Everyone froze. The detective's eyes flicked between Nathan and the rest of them, heavy clouds gathering behind his gaze. Nathan's fingers twitched on the cold chair arms. "I'm who, then?" he hissed, voice raw. "Who am I, if not the man I've been?" No answer came from the shadows. But then, a slow, steady beeping sounded from the tablet on the table. Emily reached over, fingers trembling, and pressed play. The video unfolded, clear, harsh, and brutal. Nathan, not the broken one in the chair, but the living, breathing, ruthless man they'd all feared, walking the halls of the Empire with cold eyes and firm steps, planning, ordering, controlling. He was real, and he was dangerous. "I never wanted this," Nathan whispered, voice cracking as tears sprung free, cold and heavy. "But maybe I was the one they needed to break everything." Emily looked up, her own eyes glassy with pain, but fierce. "Maybe there's a way out, if we unmask the truth, if we take down the Empire." Ethan nodded, hands shaking but determined. "We end it. All of it." Outside, the rain hammered harder. The city watched, breathing, waiting. Then Nathan reached out, trembling, and took Lily's small hand in his. "We start here," he said, voice barely more than a whisper. A flicker of hope, fragile but alive. But the story, oh, it wasn't over. Because far below, beneath the roar of sirens and shadows, new players moved in the dark, waiting, watching, hungry. Then the final question remained, slicing sharp through the storm. Who was really pulling the strings? And how many more lies were tucked in the cracks of that broken empire? Hey, before you go, this is the moment to show your support like never before. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next jaw-dropping stories only here. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and keep this story alive. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories. I want to hear everything you think about that ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how it all unfolds. Only true fans get why this matters. Be part of the story. Do it now.